Hello everyone, my name is Saravanan Muthu and I am presenting my MSc research paper titled Securing Home IoT Setup at Network Architecture Level. This project mainly focuses on improving security for smart home devices by designing a simulated layer of security at a network architecture level. So moving on to the introduction, as we all know, the IoT or Internet of Things has transformed the home automation. Devices like smart cameras, thermostats, light systems made life so much easier, but they also introduced to major risks. The risks may be like weak passwords, unencrypted communications, and flat networks makes these easy for attackers to get an access into it. My project addresses the vulnerability on applying WPA3 encryption or like WPA2 personal since I'm using a Cisco packet tracer and VLAN segmentation, and also I'll be doing MAC filtering in order for the security purpose, and RBAC, which is role-based access control for the IoT home devices. So, literature review. Research shows most of the IoT devices by default come with weak passwords or no encryption enabled in them. This means attackers can eavesdrop on the traffic and gain access in a very short span of time and with very little efforts as well. So this WPA3 or WPA2 personal encryption improves security against brute force attacks, and the VLAN segmentations and RBAC enhances network security and access control. So I'll be demonstrating the live example after finishing the PPT. So moving on to the research methodology. So in this research methodology, I have two phases of approach. One is the insecure network setup followed by a security measure. Phase one, connected devices to an insecure router for initialized testing, in which they are connected to like an open router where DHCP is enabled, no encryption standards are there, and there is no access control. In phase two, I'll be developing my own personal secure network, which has WPA3 or WPA2 personal encryption, VLAN for segmentations, MAC filtering will be done, and RBAC through ACLs will be performed in that. So simulating performed use the whole simulation is done in Cisco Packet Tracer. The test results really helped in validating the security measures effectiveness. So moving on, the insecure setup. So initially the insecure configuration devices like laptops, smart lights, and garage doors were like connected to an open SSID, and there was no restriction, so any device could connect. DHCP assigned IP address to all the devices automatically, so everything was connected with any other devices, making the network very much vulnerable even if the attacker is able to gain an access of a single system. So, and on the next page, we'll be seeing the secure network, in which I implemented WPA3 and WPA2 personal encryptions to protect the wireless data. VLAN segmentation separated all like the major devices. IoT comes in one VLAN. The trusted devices like the home server comes in a different VLAN, and the guest users comes in another different VLAN. The MAC filtering ensured only approved devices were able to connect to the main devices, IoT devices, for example, the garage door. And the restricted access was also very much necessary in that. So moving on to results, improvement in security. Devices in separate VLAN showed improved in isolation. Only authorized devices like the home server was the only thing that was able to communicate with the IoT devices. And the network segmentation, which is the guest network, it was completely restricted only with Wi-Fi and no access to the server's data or to the any of the garage details in it. So the WPA3 and WPA2 personal encryption ensured encrypted communication between all the devices. So even though they were in the same VLAN, there was always an encrypted connection that was made sure. And MAC filtering as an extra layer by blocking an unauthorized access to all the systems that are connected in the guest network. The challenges that I encountered were misconfiguration of VLANs. Like I was not able to configure the VLANs properly in the initial phase, but I was able to segregate all the VLANs properly, and I made a separate VLAN for IoT a separate VLAN for the servers, which is like the home device, which will be able to access any of the VLANs, and a separate isolated VLAN only for the guest devices. MAC filtering fail was initially there since it is a user. The MAC address was a little bit misconfigured, but later I was able to solve that with proper configuration and able to perform a single device authorization only to access the entire data of the IoT devices. And moving on, the conclusion. The WPA3 encryption or WPA2 personal encryption and VLAN segmentation along with MAC filtering enhances the security. IoT are now better protected against unauthorized access. I'll be demonstrating you how the unprotected network and protected network varies with VLAN setups, WPA3 setups, and MAC filtering setups. Network structure optimization is the crucial of smart home security. And future works may include adding additional security measures in case like if the WPA3 encryption gets a newer upgrade and if any newer version of protection comes up, that might be added up in the future. And automation is also very much essential, which can be done. But WPA3 automation is a very difficult method in the process of configuring it. So manual approach for now is a better option. Maybe in the future, the automation could bring up a new different scheme. And I've added my references on this. These are all the papers that I used to refer and got all the data to build this complete setup. And thank you for watching my presentation. And now I'll be proceeding with the demonstration of the videos. So starting initially, this is a unsecured network. As you can see, there is a server and there is one PC. This PC is connected in a guest network, and this switch routes every device connection to the home router. And these are all the IoT devices. These three IoT devices are directly connected to the router. Since it is an unsecured network, the initial phase of connection is like this. So if I open my switch and if I go to the VLAN database, as you can see, there is no VLAN segregation available in here. And also in the home router, if I go under this configuration, I'll be able to see wireless for like one in which one of the IoT devices is connected in 2.4 gigabits and one in 5.1 and one in 5.2. In the 2.4, there is no SSID, it's in default. It follows the same for all three, and there are no authentication and encryption methods in this. So moving on to GUI, here if you go to the wireless MAC filtering under the wireless section, I'll be able to see the MAC filtering is disabled and there is like any device can connect to this particular IoT device and get an access or like read the data. So here is an overall view of what is happening in the network. And as you can see, there is no SSID allocation, there is no password protection, nothing. This is how an initial setup of an IoT device in a home normally looks like. But moving on to our configuration part. So this is a secured network setup that I personally designed. So here, initially in the switch, you'll be able to see the VLAN database. For GUI understanding, the VLAN 10 is configured to mainnet, the mainnet which will be the server, and the trusted devices will be of the IoT devices which is connected. The guest network will be of this particular PC which is connected. So here if I go to the Ethernet 2 on 1, which is this particular line of network, I'll showcase it to you. So as you can see, so this is the fast Ethernet 2/1. Here, if you see, the VLAN connection is for the VLAN 10 and 20. In this case, the server is also allowed to communicate with this device, preventing it from connecting with the separate VLAN, which is the guest network, as you can see, the 30. The 30 is not included in this fast Ethernet because we don't want it to communicate to any of the guest networks and it is protected. And as we move to the router setup, so here on the router setup, as you can see, the wireless, it has a separate SSID and it is WPA2 PSK, like personal encrypted. And the personal encryption for this has been given here. For more briefing, I'll go to the GUI interface of this. And in the GUI interface, the initial setup, I'll go to wireless. And in the wireless, as you can see, all the three IoT devices have the same SSID, but all of these have a new set of passwords, which will be of WPA2 personal, but the password is a different for each and every IoT device. So even if the VLAN which we have configured is compromised, the encrypted data will not be able to be captured by the person who is attacking. Even if they crack it for one, they'll not be able to crack it for two and the third device. And as you can see, the MAC filtering, I have enabled the MAC filtering, preventing only like the listed devices to access the wireless network. As since in Cisco Packet Tracer, I'm not able to get the perfect MAC address. In real time scenario, we'll be able to put the MAC address directly into this, which will be the server's MAC address or the home main system's MAC address, and letting only that be allowed to all the wireless ports. So in this case, if I take the guest network PC and if I try to ping it with one of the devices in which its IP address will be of, I'll showcase the IP address initially. So the IP address is 192.168.0.1. So if from the guest network, I try to ping 192.168.0.1, the message will not be reaching the IoT device because it will be dropped here itself in the main router. So this is how the entire network is being protected against VLAN segregation and WPA3 encryption. And with MAC filtering, only this server will be able to access the main device setup. So this is how I secured the home IoT device at network architecture level. Thank you for seeing my presentation. Thank you.